It's a beautiful Tuesday morning, and a very welcome to another interesting edition of VOP this morning on Voice of the People Television. Today is also the 10th day in the month of June 2025. You know, the other day I talked about the 3rd of June, and Mo was like, you know, what's so special about that date? Okay, fine, today I'll tell you. Today actually happens to be my darling sister's birthday. That same 3rd was my sister's birthday too, but okay. I don't want to come out to say, you know. But all the same, I don't know if she's watching me right now. Happy birthday to you, nieces, Sonia Omeji. But that's been a part. On today's show, we have interesting lineup, quite interesting topics that will get your attention. I'll get it glued to your screen. And one of the topics of conversation today is how the presidency reacts to oppositions and persons, you know, trying to talk down on their achievement. And here, presidency reacts to Peter Obi's interview, calls him desperate for power and ignorant of governance, even as he is trying to profess solution on how Nigeria's economy can go forward.
Oh, well, good morning and thanks for joining us. I am Chukwuma Okorofina. Happy birthday to your sister.
Thank you. Stop it. I like it. Okay. Oh, stop it.
Now, away from presidency and Peter Obi, Arewa Consultative Forum slams Tinubu for prioritizing 2027 campaign over national issues as Arewa alleges election plot through INEC control.
And also, Mariam Abacha denies her husband looted Nigeria's funds. Oh well, we'll look at all of these in the course of the program. And yes, birthday shout-outs to everyone who's celebrating today, especially to Fina's sister. Oh well, I am Moses Humphrey. Now let's dive into some of the conversations. Nigerians are talking about these conversations. Let's bring them to the fore. Now, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Public Affairs, Aliyu Audu, has resigned from his position, citing deep concerns over what he sees as a growing attempt by the ruling APC to edge Nigeria towards a one-party system. Now, in his public statement, Audu stressed that his decision was driven by principle, not defiance, warning that efforts to silence dissent reflects authoritarian trends and undermine democratic values. Now, he criticized the administration's handling of opposition voices, calling for a political environment grounded in ideological diversity rather than dominance. Well, he had his resignation letter on the screen a while back where he appreciated former special assistant on media to the president, Ajurin Galali, for seeing the potential in him. And well, he also did say that he aligns with the president's progressive agenda, but in another interview, he did say, look, the whole attempt at a one-party system doesn't sit well with him. Well, if that's the reason, if that's the sole reason for his resignation, I will say there is hope that we still have some Nigerians who will want to stand for what they believe in. We also saw one of the commissioners to Governor Umar Eno of Akwa Ibom State tender his own resignation as well, citing a move from the PDP to the APC, what he seems as a lack of principle. Well, it's interesting to know that we still have some Nigerians that will you know, disregard all the monies that come with being around the corridors of power and stand for principle. Well, I wish them well, and this will be some sort of encouragement to some Nigerians to stand on the side of what they believe in as well. And hopefully, if we all can stand for truth and justice, equity, we just might have the Nigeria that we desire, a great Nigeria. But that's it for me.
All right, interestingly, if we're talking about persons working with their own ideology and making sure that they speak in the spirit of democracy in Nigeria, you know, some persons will say that the political space that we have in Nigeria today, we don't really have we have few or little individuals who still have ideology and what they believe in. You know, when I saw this news yesterday, the first thing that came into my mind is, are you sure this man resigned? Or, you know, are we going to get another story tomorrow, you know, maybe indicating that he maybe might be forced to tender his resignation. We've seen some other persons also resign during this particular, from this particular cabinet. We have, I think some time ago, it was Ajulin Gerale. Then we also have last month or 2 months ago, another person also resigned.
Dati Ahmed.
Baba Ahmed, yeah, exactly. And they have their reasons why they're tendering their resignation. But if he is telling us, if today Ali Audu is telling Nigerians that his opinion about a one-party system happens to be the reason he tendered his resignation, fine, it's okay. Nobody wants a one-party system for Nigeria, even as some persons who enjoy what has been, who enjoy the Nigerian sweat indirectly, because we know that anybody that wake up to say we are going for one-party system actually does not understand that that is undemocratic, as the case may be. Democracy speaks loud when we have dissent voices and different persons with different opinion. That is where we have a freedom of expression, you know. But if there are more stories to this, you know, also, I will encourage him to come up to tell us what really happened, what really transpired. If maybe we're going to get a different story tomorrow from him, it's better for him to talk about it now than for tomorrow for him to start crying foul. That's all.
Yes, crying foul. This is like Fina rightly pointed out. This is not the first time that somebody is leaving the president's cabinet, and but I'm not quite enthused about what is going on here, because I get worried when people know a lot but say little, because it's apparent that this man that just left the president's cabinet is close to the seat of power. And he comes out to tell us that, look, that there are plans, you know, to foist one-party state on Nigeria. What are the plans? Please squeal if you have. Don't come out and tell us, you know, just peripherally that, look, there are plans, there's an agenda to foist one-party state on Nigeria. It doesn't solve our problems. And I'm not one of those who will want a one-party state or a multi-party state. What I want is economic prosperity for Nigeria. It doesn't matter to me whether it is multi-party or one-party. We have seen countries that are one-party, and they are doing well. I've also seen countries that are multi-party, and they are doing well. So for me, it's neither here nor there. What guarantees economic prosperity for the average Nigerian? That is my concern at this moment. So for somebody like Aliyu that has resigned, it will do Nigerians more good if he comes out and gives us information that leads Nigerians to understand that, look, there are plans to foist one state on Nigeria. It is not enough to say that Fubara was coerced into, or he was forced, and there are allegations about. We want concrete, we want evidence. Show us, tell us, let us know, so that we'll take you seriously. Otherwise, people like me and many Nigerians will also believe that, look, he's just pandering to politics, sentiments, politics, like what Baba Ahmed did. Baba Ahmed didn't leave because he didn't like the Tinubu administration again. It was clearly a northern agenda, you know, spearheaded by him. So I don't want a situation where this one is also another northern agenda. So if he has information on the ground that tells us that, look, there are plans to force one-party state on Nigeria, please come out and spill. Don't tell us you are living out of ideological basis and all of that. Anyway, let's move away from that. Nigerians actually know what is going on. They also, at a point in time, they will take their decision about voting who will lead them to the next dispensation. Now, and for the 4 foreign embassies in Abuja face possible closure by the Federal Capital Territory Administration over unpaid ground rents dating back 11 years. The missions collectively owe over 3.6 billion naira, according to official records. Meanwhile, the Socioeconomic Rights and Accountability Project, that SERAP, has urged President Bola Tinubu to hold the move, warning that such action will violate international law, including the Vienna Convention, which protects the sanctity of diplomatic premises. Well, straight off, this is called extraterritoriality in international relations. It clearly means that in any place you have a foreign embassy, you have an embassy or a high commission, that place automatically is the homeland of that country. And they have a certain level of protection. You know, police cannot go into that place to search. The military can, except in war situations like what happened in Benghazi, what happened in, when Julian Assange, you know, ran into one embassy in the UK, and he stayed for a very long time. But when it happened sometime somewhere in, I think that was in Bolivia, people went there and tried to make trouble. But in all of this, the point of it is this: except those places are rented buildings. If it is the property of the embassy or the property of the High Commission, I'm not sure that they are allowed by law, by international treaty, to pay ground rent, because automatically that place, if it's U.S. Embassy in Lagos here, that place is the United States of America. We also have Nigerian embassies and high commissions abroad that have owed rents, not even ground rents, and have not been pushed out of those premises. So that principle of extraterritoriality, as enshrined in the Vienna Convention, is something that we cannot walk away from. So while we are trying to do the needful, the Minister of the FCT and his administration should be very, very careful not to rupture the peace we have with foreigners in this country. That's it for me.
All right, talking about the Vienna Convention, Article 22 and 23, here, it pointed out that if the ground rent is considered as a form of tax or public due, the under 23 section, the embassy would typically be exempted. But, however, if the ground rent is classified as a commercial lease payment or a fee for a specific service, like maintenance or utilities, it may not be exempt.
Exactly the point.
Ultimately, it depends on how the ground rent is defined under local law, whether as a tax or a private contractual obligation. So like my colleague in the studio rightly pointed out, if, for example, here in Nigeria, this ground rent we're talking about now happens not to be a tax or an obligation thing, I don't see why the FCT minister will wake up to say he is going to the embassies that we have in Abuja to revoke the property or right to ownership and all that because they are owing ground rents for 11 years. But all the same, I believe him that happens to be the minister of FCT knows exactly what the Vienna Convention talked about. Every embassy in every state, in every nation, in every sovereign nation, represents the sovereignty of that particular nation in extension. So infringing on the right of the people who occupy these lands, according to you, say they will pay the ground rent, make sure you dot the I's and cross the T's to avoid biting more than you can chew. That is all I can say to this particular one, because we're looking at diplomatic premises at this point in time. We're looking at the sanctity of those areas, looking at also the principles that we have already put in place. It is not just a one-time thing to show that you're working. Yes, you can do your work, but also don't be overzealous in trying to do the work you're supposed to do. But if all the same, the particular ground rent we're supposed to receive that as tax in Nigeria, I believe that the embassies actually should know better to pay their debt or pay their tax or their obligation, as the case may be.
Well, talking about knowing better, I would like to believe that Wike knows what he's doing. I would like to believe if he would be encroaching on any international laws, he wouldn't be doing what he's doing. I would also like to believe that the embassies mentioned, well, basically, I think what he's doing here is to draw attention to the fact that these embassies should pay ground rent, but they haven't been paying ground rent. And they're drawing attention to the fact that, look, now we know that you haven't paid ground rent and do the needful. I don't think he will run into demolishing properties. I don't think so. This is just to raise awareness. And but, as Serap also, as they are calling on the president to rein him in, I don't recall Serap doing anything. Well, Serap is within Nigeria, though. When Nigerian embassy, Nigerian High Commission in Ghana was demolished, some part of it was demolished at some point during the time of Jeffrey Onyema as Minister of Foreign Affairs. I think that was in 2019. Some parts of that embassy. It was largely because there was some infraction done, all right? The Nigerian High Commission, did not pay lease on the property. And the Ghanaian authorities brought it to their notice that, look, you need to get your lease sorted. And they still didn't. And I think there was a conflict as to who owned the property, if it was a community, one Osu community, and the government. There was that conflict. And then some individuals armed went into the High Commission, demolished structures. In fact, they waited until the structures were erected. No, I think there are two different cases here, One in Yarere Road and another one somewhere else. But the basic thing is some structures were demolished at some point. Some structures were threatened to be shut down. And for those that demolished the structures, I think I checked some months later and saw that nothing was even done to those by the Ghanaian authorities now. Nothing was done. to those that demolished the structures within the Nigeria's High Commission in Ghana. Basically, I understand the Vienna Treaty. I understand how these international laws should be upheld, as flouting them might cause chaos. But I do also believe that these countries know that if this is required of them, then it's something that they should do. So just go ahead.
Yes, go ahead. Moses, I like the confidence you have in Wike, that he knows what he's doing.
I like to believe so.
Yes, I like the benefit of that I've given him. I also know that he's not infallible. Even in the demolitions he has made, he's made some mistakes. There are some errors.
Exactly.
Yes, there are some errors that he has made. And I also, you see, our people are very careless. And I like the fact that you took it to Ghana,
My fatherland.
I like the fact that you took it to Ghana. Our Nigerian people, we don't always like to do the right thing. The Ghanaian government, Ghanaian authorities that I understand, will not go out of their way to demolish that Nigerian property if they didn't have clear evidence.
It wasn't the Ghanaian authorities that did. It was a businessman who claimed ownership of the property.
No, that person will not go out of his way to do that if there wasn't an infraction on the part of the Nigerian government.
Exactly.
You see, we carry
an infraction on the part of the Ghanaian government as well. It could be.
No, on the part of...
It could be, because the property was sold. The property was sold to Nigeria without the adequate papers given to
Why did he buy?
Nigeria.
Why
did we buy?
Why did he buy without papers?
That's
you see, we try to carry our excesses outside, and that has clearly defined us as a people. Even when money is provided, our embassies and high commissioners don't pay rents overseas. There are clear cases where Nigerian embassy, a particular high commission, was owing rent for about 11 years or more, not grand rent or not taxes, rent on a property. See, let me just give one instance before we quickly run now, to show you how we carry out our excesses. When I was doing my research project way back, and I needed to reach out to our high commissioner, somewhere in Ghana and another one in Liberia. You know that I kept calling and calling and calling and calling, and the phone kept ringing. Nobody picked the call. I said, let me try. I called the US Embassy. Somebody picked the call. I called the UK High Commissioner in Ghana. Somebody picked the call.
There was no one there.
That is Nigeria for you. Anyway, so like Wike, let's be very sure that you know what they are doing. That's my take on this.
All right. Well, just for the records, this is an international platform. Let it be known that I'm both Nigerian and Ghanaian, as my parents are from both sides. So I'm not speaking against one, on top of the other. Just wanted to put that out there.
It's okay. For as far as we are concerned, you are Nigerian. Because
Thank you very much.
When you go to Ghana, you can become Ghanaian.
Thank you very much.
All right. Away from that, former Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Toko Buratai, has denied reports that he was ambushed by Boko Haram in Borno State. The claim made by Senator Ali Ndume was later clarified as a misunderstanding. According to Buratai, who was in Abuja on the day of the alleged incident, the attack took place in the town of Buratai in Biu local government area. His namesake, not him personally, was the one that was ambushed. The Nigerian Army, through former spokesman S.K. Usman, dismissed the report as false, while Ndume also confirmed he was misquoted. The incident has sparked speculation about the motive behind the statement, especially after Buratai recently expressed support for President Tinubu's policies. Interestingly, even when we're going back and forth on whether Buratai was ambushed or not, there was an ambush that happened in Biu local government area in Borno State, yes. The governor of the state had been crying out loud about the activities of Boko Haram insurgents in that particular state. And, whether we're trying to politicize this or not, making it look like maybe Ali Ndume talked about this particular ambush because of the fact that Buratai have come up to declare his interest and support for the present administration. For me, I think that's a way to water down the major challenge we're looking at on this table, which is the issue of insecurity, which have been bedeviling the nation. We know that some big or some, let's say, high-rated military personnel have been even kidnapped. The other time it was Sega that was kidnapped. He came out, he gave out his ordeal after spending so many weeks in the camp of the people that kidnapped him. You know, he was once a former DG of NYSC, and you know, and I mean, big wig for that matter, but he was kidnapped. And a whole lot of other Nigerians also have been kidnapped, paying ransom, and they're being released. Insecurity is what we should be looking at this point in time. Is there insecurity in the nation? Yes, there is. And Nigeria is suffering this particular, yes, we are suffering the brunt of insecurity in the nation. But the Nigerian government should do something to make sure that we end the insecurity in the nation so that no one will ever capitalize on it to politicize or to run down a particular agenda or a particular government. If we want to politicize it, let us find a way to end the issue of insecurity in nation Nigeria, as big as we are, so that you or myself or any other person that have a ulterior motive will have nothing to leverage on while trying to run down a government. That's all I can say regarding this particular story.
Well, when this story made on the papers and there was a rebuttal, my instincts as a reporter came alive because the caption was Buratai escapes death. So, and when Alain Dume came out and said that he was misquoted, I was like, so who escaped? Did the whole community escape death? And so that was when I started wondering, what kind of report is this? But it's a good thing that clarifications have been made that it was not former chief of army staff, Toko Buratai, who was ambushed. But I'm still wondering, how was the whole community ambushed? Were they traveling en masse or what? But the issue is that there was an attack on Buratai community. And at the point in time, the said army general was not even around within that vicinity. So there's no way he could have escaped. If he was escaped, if he escaped, that means he was within that vicinity. It's good that clarifications have been made, but there's a larger question. How will, a whole community be attacked like that? This is not the first time. It's not just in Borno State. It happens to be in Borno, and Zulum has cried out. Politicians and people in government are the ones behind this attack. Ojuzo Carlo cried out the other day. Governor Alia cried out. Benue Plateau has become a killing field, more like ethnic cleansing, genocidal, if you don't mind. And on all of this, we have a government, that sits comfortably in the comfort and coons in their own apartment. And we begin to wonder, what have we become as a people? We have also become inured to the side of blood, that even when you hear that 50 people were killed, you say, anyway, it has become an abnormal normal for us. We shouldn't travel in this direction. Like I keep asking, these are stories we learned. These are stories that we read growing up, in high school, in the university, about how communities were taken over brutally by a group of people. And we thought that those things were things of the old, and they're happening in our presence now, in our time in the 21st century. When we hear about the inquest, about the crusaders and all of that, you understand that, look, this is what is happening now. So are we now writing history for ourselves? Unfortunately, that is what it has become.
Unfortunately, Nigerians are killed, attacked, driven from their homelands, and it's been treated with kid gloves. That's an unfortunate thing. Now, regardless of whose name was mentioned, I think the person's name was mentioned because of the position he occupies in the military and in Nigeria as a whole. But ordinary Nigerians are, regularly attacked. What is government doing to protect them? These Nigerians may not have popular names. These Nigerians may not have come from a popular family, but they are Nigerians, and they should not be left to suffer just because they don't have, some pedigree hanging around them. They should be protected just for being Nigerians. They should be protected by the government. So I think that's what the government should be focused on, as against what is true and what is not true, who was attacked and who wasn't attacked. Nigerians should be protected, and government should do the needful in that regard. Well, that's how far we can go with these trending stories. Now let's take a break, a very short one. And when we come back, we'll be looking at stories from the cover pages. That's newspaper headlines. Join us again. Well, thanks for joining us again. Now let's dive to it. Daily Independent is up on our table. Banner headline: macroeconomic gains at risk as parallel FX market stress grows. And then the window headlines: after God, my loyalty lies with Tinubu, says Umahi. Obi accuses Tinubu, others of orchestrating LP crisis. Interesting headlines there. PFAs turn to creative industry to reach informal sector. VCs get knocks over delay in processing students' academic records. Jandor leads Lagos PDP spokesperson. Other party chieftains to APC. How? He left the PDP already. So did he go back to drag them into the APC? Oh well. Wike rallies PDP stakeholders, warns against disunity, says no opposition party can survive without cohesion. Presidential aide Aliyu Audu resigns from Tinubu's administration. Serap urges Tinubu to stop Wike from shutting 34 embassies. And the bottom strip: NNPC warns against fake representation claims. I'll take that one again. NNPC warns against fake representation claims. Well, those are the headlines on the cover page of Daily Independent.
Up next is the First News newspaper, and beside the masthead, Abacha didn't loot. He saved for Nigeria, says widow. I'll take that again. Abacha didn't loot. He saved for Nigeria, says widow. And beneath the masthead, 2027 fuel subsidy savings wasted. Obi says no sector has improved. Niger governor approves 1 billion naira for flood victims relief. Thames makes history as first FIFA Club World Cup halftime show headliner. Serap to Tinubu stop Wike from shutting 34 embassies over rent issues. And the banner headline on the cover page of the First News newspaper today reads, my royalty is first to God, then Tinubu, Umahi declares. I promised Jesus 1,000 churches before I die, Bishop Oyedebo. I promised Jesus 1,000 churches before I die, Bishop Oyedebo. Obi wants power without a plan, presidency fires back. And the bottom strip headline, Abia APC blast Ojikalo for visiting Governor Oti. Those are the stories on the cover page of the First News newspaper.
Now let's quickly run through the Guardian newspaper with the big story. 24 years later, 43 new operators target telcos underserved amid concern. That story is on page 6. And more stories: Otedola to consolidate stake in First Bank as Sotudeko Odukale consider exit. Wike rallies PDP stakeholders in Abuja high-stakes meeting. And subsidy, Obi demands transparency on savings. Presidency calls him desperate. That story is also on page 6. Oti Nanade relaunch obedient movement in Abuja today. And the bottom strip headlines: 100,000 rickety containers dumped in Nigerian ports. Group laments. I'll take that again. 100,000 rickety containers dumped in Nigerian ports. Group laments. Mariam Abacha faults IBB's claim on June 12 election annulment. That story is on page 9 of the Guardian newspaper. And that's all from the Guardian, and that's how far we can go on newspaper headlines this morning. Join Moses and I at 10 o'clock for an extensive review of newspaper headlines. We'll go for a short break, and when we return, Presidency reacts to Peter Obi's interview, calls him desperate for power and ignorance of governance. Join us again.
We encourage you to click on the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are Voice of the People TV. Also follow us on all our social media platforms. We are at VOPTV Live. Visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. Also watch us live on SLTV channel 264. VOPTV, Voice of the People Television.
We are the station that bring you stories from the people's perspective.
We let your voice be heard. On Political Lens, we bring you deeper insights into happenings within the polity.
We create equality of representative opinion and fairness in politics, economic and diverse conversations.
Here we bring you breaking news, fresh perspectives, as well as fact-based analysis.
Watch our extraordinary shows from the People's Voice, where we get to amplify the stories and concerns of everyday Nigerians to hashtag.
To Health Check, where we share practical wellness tips and bring you deep insights from medical professionals.
Maritime Frontiers, we dissect issues on port operations and more. Every time we talk about sport, it's everything that has to do with sport, from the top to the finish. Just be with us, stay with us all of the time. We give you sporting activities just as you unfold, and that's what we do, and that's why we are called Voice of the People TV, and you already know.
We got you all covered.
Here, you have more than a voice.
Thank you so much for staying with us. It's still VOP this morning on Voice of the People Television. The presidency has hit back at former Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi, describing him as lacking depth in economics and governance. The sharp response came Monday from the president's special advisor on policy communication, Daniel Bwala, who issued a statement through his official X account. Bwala said he was surprised that Obi, who has been a vocal critic of the government, suddenly appeared to support some of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's economic decisions, particularly the removal of fuel subsidies and the unification of exchange rates. He claimed the former Anambra State governor, along with other opposition leaders, seemed more focused on seizing power than offering viable alternatives. Earlier on Monday, Obi had publicly challenged President Tinubu to account for how the government has spent the reported billions of naira saved since the removal of the fuel subsidy. Speaking on a national television program, Obi said there was nothing wrong with scrapping the subsidy or floating the naira. Policies he admitted he would have implemented himself if he had been elected. However, he criticized the Tinubu's administration's approach, describing the rollout as rushed and poorly coordinated. According to Obi, if the subsidy was removed to stop borrowing, then continued borrowing raises questions about the policy's impact. He questions the government's actions, pointing out that if the subsidy removal had continued the borrowing, then it contradicts the purpose of that removal. He pressed for transparency, asking where the savings have gone and what sectors have actually benefited from such savings. We have with us in the studio Prince Francis Chilaka, who is a public affairs analyst, and we'll be joined by Barrister Clem Agui, who is a public affairs analyst too, and also we'll also have other guests join us during the course of the program. Prince Francis, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you join today's conversation. Interestingly, we're having Daniel Bwala coming for Obi at this point in time. It's more like he's targeting his sensitive part by saying that he does not really have depth knowledge of economic issues, reason being that he criticized the present administration's policy, but yet he is in one hand championing that if he had been elected in office, the likes of fuel subsidy would have been a thing of the past, and the unification of the naira also would be what he will also embrace. What do you have to say about this, given the fact that Obi, on the other hand, though he accepted and admitted that he is going to take out the fuel subsidy, but he's asking this present administration to tell Nigerians, what actually happened to be the benefit of the fuel subsidy removal?
Let me start by saying Bwala seems to have a memory loss. He seems to have a problem with his memory. He has forgotten so quick and so fast that during the campaigns, P2B was actually hitting on it that subsidy is a scam and that subsidy needs to go. And so for him to now begin to say something else is different. The thing is, P2B has always said that there is need to take away subsidy, because subsidy is not, there's no accountability on it. And we all believe, we all know that it has been a scam that has been eating the fabrics of the Nigerian nation. On the other hand, saying that P2B does not have in-depth knowledge on economics, his paymaster went to Chatham House and questions were thrown at him. And the man who had so much in-depth, the man who was so prepared to lead Nigeria into El Dorado, couldn't answer questions. He had to appoint people to answer those questions. So what makes P2B different from his paymaster? You know, so for me, asking P2B to tell you what he would have done differently is, you don't do that. Don't forget that they're all in opposition parties. So you cannot ask one man to tell you his plans of how he wants to run a country when you want to take advantage of it.
But now,
Mr. President should have known from day one that that announcement on the 29th of May 2023 was not necessary. It was not planned, it was not calculated. It was just like, you know, braggadocious. He wanted to show off.
But he just pointed out that some persons are milking Nigerians dry through that fuel subsidy. And he just also pointed out on this table now that it doesn't benefit the nation. So why do we then go ahead to talk about the fuel subsidy when we know that we are not even being benefited or beneficiary to it?
In what way?
Isn't it a good thing to pull out the fuel subsidy when
It's not about pulling out the fuel subsidy. It's about the way it was pulled out.
No, okay.
First of all, this government had not been constituted in the sense that Mr. President had not constituted his economic team. He has not constituted his ministerial team. So who gave him the advice to make that announcement? He never had any consultations with Nigerian Labour Congress. He didn't hold any consultations with Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. Nobody. So how do you run a country, a democratic system, like a dictator? So nobody is saying that fuel subsidy should remain. But what we are saying is that there are procedures. There are things you don't do. You must carry people along. The reason why Nigeria is the way it is today is because Mr. President did not carry people along. There was no plan. There was no vision as to the removal of fuel subsidy.
So you think in Nigeria now we have to have a plan? You know, okay, now let's bring it down to the table, because we'll be talking about plans and all that and no vision in place. It's just more like pulling out the rug from the feet of Nigerians and all that. Now, how long do you think it should have taken this present administration to be prepared fully for us Nigerians now not to feel the brunt of the fuel subsidy? Recall that Jonathan, when he was the president of Nigeria, also, you know, made mention of pulling out the fuel subsidy. The likes of Buhari paid the fuel subsidy till June, and he stopped. That shows the fuel subsidy actually was not even there in the 2024 or 2023 budget of Nigeria. So,
you see, if you're talking about Jonathan removing the fuel subsidy, already Jonathan had plans. Things were already on ground to cushion the effect of the fuel subsidy removal. So tell me, what did Bola Ahmed Tinubu put on ground when he was removing the fuel subsidy?
Okay. All right, Prince, before we bring in our virtual guest, let me just stay with you on this one question. You know, Peter Obi, Atiku Abubakar, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, all of them agreed that fuel subsidy had to go. Why? Because according to all of them, the thing had turned into a scam. And what is scam here? That it was corruption. It was a few Nigerians, you know, less than 100 people out of 220 million Nigerians were benefiting unduly from the subsidy regime. Now, I have asked this question. Maybe I have not asked you, so let me just ask you. Between removing the fuel subsidy, you know, that will impact negatively as it is now on over 220 million Nigerians, and dealing with the scam itself, which one would have been more preferable for Nigerians?
You see, in fairness to the three people you've mentioned, yes, I also believe that fuel subsidy had to go. But you do not build a house without looking at the dynamics of the house you want to build. You need to get an architect. You need to get a surveyor. You need to do the elementary things first before you start construction. And so what we are saying is that, good, subsidy had to go. But your president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, did not think it through. He did not understand enormous corruption in the system.
Exactly the point.
Now,
rather than fight this corruption so that over 220 million Nigerians can benefit from the fuel that we produce here locally, why do you have to punish Nigerians instead
Good.
of
So that is
the less than 100
That is
people?
what I am saying, that the likes of Bola have short memory. They have short memory. They don't understand what is going on. Maybe because they don't understand the cost of items in the market. Or maybe because they have a special APC filling stations where they get petrol from. But the point is that everybody wants something to go. But we must be intentional about how we take it out.
Prince, do Nigerians deserve a subsidy on fuel?
Obviously we do.
Okay, so why remove it?
No. We do. What we should fight with, or what we should have fought with first, is the corrupt nature of that subsidy. Okay. As you and I sit today, NNPC is unable to tell us what we consume on a daily basis as a country. What do we consume? You need to have data to work with. You don't work in the air. When you're dealing with 200 million Nigerians, you need to have data to work with. So what data did Mr. President work with? Right. It is the same flaw we have in the petroleum sector. That is the same flaw we have with the program of poverty alleviation, palliatives.
Interesting point you just made there, Prince Francis. Let's bring in Barrister Clem Agui, who we told you is a public affairs analyst, joined the conversation. Good morning, Barrister Clem Agui. Good to have you join today's conversation.
Good to have me in your studio.
All right. Now,
thank you very much. Good to see you again. And
same here. Okay, we heard what Boala said, more like going for Peter Obi, saying that he does not have in-depth knowledge of how to push Nigeria forward, or he's just hungry for power. Now, we know before now, Daniel Boala has been a major critic of this president's administration, especially the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. In 2023, 2022, so many, through some interviews he granted, he made Nigerians understand that voting the present president we have now is more like making a grave mistake. What really changed? What changed to the point that Boala now is defending the same person he believes is not good for Nigeria at this point in time? Can you help us walk around this for us before we start with other questions?
Boala today is, before now was working for a former presidential candidate, and he was hired to do that job. And the only is on him to sell his market. And today he's hired by President Tinubu, the serving government, and on policy and communication, I think. And I guess he's doing his job. That's his part of his job mandate. So whatever he says, I don't take it very seriously, because he has to justify his being employed in the first instance, and he has to speak for the government, and that's exactly what he's doing. I don't begrudge him on that. But having said that, I think, yes, President Buhari promised change to Nigeria, and I think he has delivered on the changes that he promised, because you can see the changes in our lifestyle, in our economy, in our security, and we have seen the changes in our education that is collapsing. So he has promised change, and he delivered on changes based on his own strategy. Like my colleague in the studio was saying on the fuel subsidy, yes, I am one of those who agreed with the removal of fuel subsidy, maybe for different reasons. People say, oh, we want to remove subsidy. They have different reasons for supporting the removal of fuel subsidy. I personally supported the removal of fuel subsidy because in the first instance, I did not believe there was a subsidy. We were subsidizing corruption. And we have no business retaining the corruption. If you look at Abdurrashid Bawa's new book, where he chronicled the corruption in the fuel subsidy scam, you will see how billions and how manipulations, how over-invoicing, how round-tripping, how non-existent of supply were all cashed out by people in billions. And that was what we were subsidizing. If you remove that corruption, you find out there's nothing to subsidize in petroleum sector in the first instance. And Nigeria would have been a better place. And unfortunately, again, we are still moving from that same cabals that controlled the oil sector to the energy sector. Because right now we are being told the federal government is owing about 4 trillion naira or more to Gencos. I ask myself, how were they owing this 4 trillion naira? And you are still being told that they're going to pay more tariff on electricity supply. Already, they are paying too much that Nigerians are not breathing anymore. And you're telling them they're going to pay more because you are still again subsidizing corruption in the energy sector. Because the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Board and the Nigerian Regulation Board on Electricity, NEC, went and entered into contract knowingly with Gencos, deliberately entered into a take it or pay contract with these Gencos. So that then these Gencos to come and tell you, and you don't have the infrastructure to take the number of gas that you are asking them to supply you. So since you have a take it or pay contract, what happens there is that they will come every month with an invoice. I have so and so amount cubic tons of gas for you. You don't have a place to store it. Well, you have to pay me. They give you the invoice, and you are paying for what you are not consuming. And what happened is that these politicians in the presidency, in the Ministry of Mines and Power, were dishing out this contract piece of paper to their cronies, knowing fully well that these are wrong procedure, these are wrong contracts, and they are signing it. And these Gencos will come in and say, "I have this gas for you." You say, "I don't have facility to take it," and you're paying for it. That is why we are in the corruption of energy. And so when the government keeps saying that subsidizing, this government and no government has subsidized Nigeria in any form. We are not subsidizing anything, especially in the energy sector and in the petroleum sector. It's just corruption that is being subsidized. So anybody who is going to deal with that issue will have to deal with the corruption of the system. And once you deal with the corruption, Nigeria will be able to at least pay what they are having.
Barrister Clem, interesting angle to it. And I like the fact that you brought the energy aspect, power, into it. We heard the other day that tariffs will be going up and Nigerians will have to pay more. And, you know, I asked myself, when will all of this end? But do you think the system is designed in such a way that those in power will continue to milk the people, the common man, the ordinary Nigerian, milk Nigerians dry without any recourse or any repercussion to what they are doing? Is the system designed against the Nigerian people, whether we like it or not?
Well, first of all, I don't even know what system we are practicing. But the truth of the matter is that people in government don't care about you. They don't care about the happiness of Nigerians, and they can see it in the policies they design and the way those policies are being implemented. They don't care about you. If they go to the same market with you, of course, if a billionaire goes to the same market with a Tanzania, a billionaire may be able to afford the cost of things, because if I have 1 billion naira today and you tell me to buy something for 1 million naira, if I remove 1 million naira there, I'm still a rich man. So they go to the same market with you, quite all right. But they can afford those high costs of living. Government is also paying for the cost of their living. If you are a senator, you check how much a senator is getting. You check how much a governor is getting, security votes and every other thing he's controlling. He can afford anything, and he's being fed by the government. So it's not as if they don't go to the market, but it's not his money. He has looted our treasury to go to the same market I'm going. And you have not looted the money. You are dependent on your living wage, on your minimum wage.
The question now is, how can Nigerians hold their leaders accountable? We seem to have failed in that regard, holding them accountable and making them realize that they need Nigerians to get into office in the first place. They need the vote of Nigerians. How can Nigerians hold them accountable?
Well, until Nigerians say they are tired of being played around and being thrown as scrappies, all these things will continue. Because the only way you can hold our leaders accountable is when your vote counts. If the leaders understand that you can vote them out when they didn't do well, and you can recall them when they are not doing very well, then they sit up and begin to work for you. There's no leader anywhere in the world that will just go out there and work for you if you are not the one who put him in power. If people grab power, if people snatch power, if people connect with INEC, connect with judiciary to win the election and be in power, they will not work for you. We have to hold our INEC accountable. We have to make the system work. And the politicians, both the opposition and the ruling party, are not helping Nigerians. Because the oppositions are not even acting like opposition. They're not speaking like opposition. They're not even insisting on electoral reform. Let us reform the electoral system. They're not even insisting on judicial reform. We need to escalate these things to the point that the international community will understand what is going on in Nigeria. So that in that way, when every eyes is on them on the system,
All right.
your vote can count. But
Okay. All right, all right, Barrister Clems, are you still there with us, Barrister?
Well, he probably needs to reset his phone because
yes, I'm here with you.
Okay, you are here with us. Thank you very much. Now, Barrister, I'm sorry, let me stay with you. I keep going back to the issue of removal of fuel subsidy because as far as I'm concerned, the questions I asked have not been answered. Now, let's create a scenario. You also agree with the guest in the studio here that, look, fuel subsidy had to be removed because it had been riddled with corruption. And now we also agree that instead of fighting the corruption, just remove the fuel subsidy so that we know that there is no corruption within the sector. And unfortunately, like you admitted, that corruption persists. At last count, we were supposed to pay like 7.74 trillion naira. Now, let me paint a picture here. You have a community of 1,000 people, which you belong to. Probably you are the king of that community, and you produce yam. And when you produce tubers of yam, you come to the community, and in the process of trying to distribute these yams, about 10 people, come and steal this yam at night. It happens like 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years. Barrister, the best way to solve the problem, is it to stop producing yam or to fight the thieves? Which one, sir?
I've told you here, the so-called removal of subsidy doesn't make sense in the sense that I'm looking at it, because for me, there was no subsidy in the first instance, because what Nigeria was subsidizing is corruption. And I've also told you that the same cabals have moved from oil, petroleum to energy sector, and they're subsidizing corruption there, and they're making you to pay more. Going back to your question, if you buy thief, if you buy yam and thieves steal it, you buy yam and thieves steal it, of course you might stop buying yam, or you might have to find a way to stop the thief. And I think the best thing is to find a way to stop the thief from stealing your yam, because you have to eat yam. You have to find a way to stop the thief, find a strategy to stop the thief from coming and apprehend the thief and punish the thief that is stealing your yam. And not to stop buying yam, because you need the yam, your children need the yam, your people need the yam. But if you choose to stop buying yam, it's also an option that you have to take. But what is the best option we're looking at here? The best option is to catch the thief, stop the stealing, let the people eat. That's my own position on that.
Okay, thank you so much, Barrister Clems. Let's bring you back to the studio now. Prince Francis, earlier when you were talking, you made mention of a whole lot. You talked about data being our problem and our challenge. For example, Saudi Arabia, that have Saudi Aramco to be their oil giant, they are subsidizing everything. From the time a child is born to the time the person goes below. Everything, even education is being subsidized and all that. Now, in Nigeria here, for example, the president told Nigerians that the reason for the removal of fuel subsidy is for Nigeria not to go bankrupt. At this point in time, what can we actually say? Or what can we say that the money we've saved from the subsidy that was removed since May 29, 2023, where can we say the money we've generated from that subsidy is going into? Remember that if we come up to say we increase the FAC allocation being given to states, 7.7 trillion naira, like Chumarin pointed out, was what we're supposed to pay, or is what we are even going to pay again to NNPC from June 2023 till September 2024.
This government is full of lies and propaganda, and unfortunately, they have people who are selling this narrative to Nigerians. When the president talked about fuel subsidy removal, I remember in that broadcast he said that those who have been beneficiaries of this scam we call fuel subsidy would be dealt with. They will be brought to book and they'll be punished. Who have they punished? This government has not even come out to tell us who the beneficiaries of fuel subsidy are. And that's where the issue of data is a problem. We don't have data for anything in this country. The National Bureau of Statistics will come out and reel out information to you without backing up with data. The other time they told us that, inflation has dropped. Inflation has dropped, but food items are still expensive in the market. Transportation costs has not dropped. So what is the inflation that has dropped? So when you talk about, this fuel subsidy we're all talking about, and why Nigerians are not subsidizing anything, is because your political class enjoy the fact that they are living off the Nigerian people. There is nothing you do in Nigeria today as a worker that you are not taxed on. And the level of double taxation is annoying. This is June. By 25th of, I think 20th or 25th of June, the price of getting a new driver's license and your renewing your vehicle particulars is going to go high. Every time you renew your documents, this wicked government, these wicked politicians, they connive and ask you to pay for roadworthiness certificate. Yet the roads are not worthy. So these are the issues. Nobody in the presidency has come out to tell us, oh, between 2023, when subsidy was gone, to 2025, this is how much we have saved from this illegality or this scam. And this is what we have done with it. Because Mr. President said that this money will be invested in education, in health. But where are they? You saw the video of the FMC in Abuja. Is that not the height of disgrace? Yet you have a minister who keeps priding himself on TV and radio stations. So the problem is there's nothing like good governance in this country. There's no leadership. You don't have leaders. What you have are rulers. And until we begin to look for leaders, you asked the question, I think it was Okoro that was saying, how do we hold our leaders accountable? You do not hold people you did not elect accountable. When those in power believe that they derive their sovereignty from themselves, from the money they have given to you, from the cup of rice they have given to you, from the pieces of noodles they have given to you, you have no legitimacy to ask them for accountability. And that is why we need to have a system that allows the Nigerian people to decide who becomes their leader, so you can hold the person accountable.
So if you say we did not elect our leaders, then how come they occupy vibrant positions in Nigeria?
How many leaders have you been? How many of those you elected have you been able to call back?
How did they not get to that?
How many of those you claim to elect have you been able to call back?
So is it the issue of election now, or what's the constitution actually, the barricades?
You see, for me, I keep saying that 1999 document is an obnoxious document that we should do away with right now. Look at the spate of the campaign that is going on. It's only in Nigeria that in the morning, Okoro is a Republican. In the evening, he's a Democrat. And we're all smiling, and we're all happy about it. No ideology, no philosophy.
Isn't that part of what democracy talks about?
No. That is an aberration of what democracy is.
Okay.
You must belong to somewhere. You can't be everywhere.
But ideologies can change.
You can't be everywhere. If you today you cannot tell me, oh, you are working for VOP. VOP employed you. Then tomorrow you move from VOP to another TV station, and the salary you are collecting from VOP, you still come to collect it. Not be juju be that.
All right, then let's. These conversations will continue as Nigerians look towards 2027 in hope that one with a different ideology and different agenda will get into office. Let's move on to other conversations. Gentlemen, we'd like you gentlemen to stay with us as we get into other conversations. Arewa Consultative Forum, ACF, slams President Tinubu for prioritizing 2027 campaign over national issues as Arewa, at Human Rights Writers Association, alleges election plot through INEC control. Let's talk about this when we come back. Join us again. Good morning. It's the start of a beautiful day. Or start your day right with a healthy dose of news, fun, and inspiration. Join us on VOP this morning for the latest news, trending topics, and uplifting stories to set your day on the right vibe. From news and current events to lifestyle and entertainment, you are covered.
VOP This Morning, 8 a.m., Monday through Friday.
Step into a world where stories unfolds, secrets unravel, and dreams come alive. Every story has a legacy. Every legacy holds the power to inspire. A unique interview series that celebrates the lives of Nigeria's elder statesmen and women through their remarkable journeys in the military, diplomacy, public service, academia, medicine, and beyond. Conversation that transcends generations, offering guidance to youth leaders, diplomats, technocrats, and future change makers. We unveil the wisdom, resilience, and achievements that shapes our nation and the world. Join us every Sunday on Voice of the People Television. Reminiscence, legacies that leads the way, stories that lives on.
All right, thanks for staying with us. And now the Arewa Consultative Forum, that is the ACF, has criticized the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, for prioritizing early political campaigns and party defections ahead of the 2027 elections, while the country continues to struggle with growing insecurity and economic hardship. The group expressed concern that President Bola Tinubu's administration appears more focused on returning power than solving the nation's urgent problems. Well, in a statement issued by its National Publicity Secretary, Professor Tuku Muhammad Barba, the forum said government responses to insecurity, particularly in the north, have been largely ineffective. It also condemned what it described as wasteful spending by public officials, which stands in stark contrast to the daily sacrifices made by ordinary Nigerians. Meanwhile, Human Rights Writers Association of Nigeria has accused President Tinubu of manipulating electoral procedures ahead of the 2027 elections. The group alleged that loyal APC members have been planted in key positions within the Independent National Electoral Commission and claimed that PDP governors seeking second terms are being pressured to defect to the APC to influence election results in their states. Well, we've been joined in the studio here by Barrister Darlington Agomo, who is a lawyer and a VOP in-house analyst. Good morning, Barrister, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Okoro, Fina, and Moz. How are you?
Very well. Oh, and we still have Barrister Clem Agui, who joined us virtually from Abuja. Thanks for staying with us, Barrister Clem Agui. Now, we've also been joined by Malam Yusuf Ibrahim Danjuma. He's a senior lecturer from the Gombe State University. Good morning, Malam, and thanks for joining us on VOP this morning.
Good morning, good morning.
Okay, very
Happy
well,
to be with you.
Very well, Malam. Malam, let me start with you. The Huriwa has made an allegation that, look, this present administration of APC, that they are appointing APC, card-carrying members of APC into INEC positions to help them influence elections in 2027. That allegation seems to be very weighty. But in all of this, we have not seen Huriwa go to court to challenge all of this. Like, do they have evidence? If they had evidence, I'm sure they would have gone to court. What is your reaction to the allegations made by Huriwa that, look, APC government is appointing card-carrying members of this government to INEC to influence 2027 elections? Let's have your broad reaction to these allegations.
Yeah, you see, thank you very much for this opportunity. I want to say that Nigeria is a reflection of its people, where the culture where the culture enhances destruction, non-righteous approach to issues, people of high position can be found lying, and people are not ready to pursue what will bring the best to the community, to Nigerian nation, and to the people. Certainly, all these kind of things will happen. So I will always say that if you want Nigeria to move forward, it must start from the homes. The homes are the nuclear stations. They are the minute organizations that reflect organizational setting, unions, association, structures that eventually will culminate into what you see at national level. A bunch of people who don't have conscience will always act this way. I'm not surprised because it's a reflection of the Nigerian entity. And the politicians that are supposed to bring the right atmosphere and do the right thing don't seem to bother. So what do you expect? I wouldn't be surprised if this allegation are proven right. We all have a role to play in making sure that Nigeria goes on the right track, and that means we must uphold truth and justice at all times, and we must also discontinuance the acts that we see that are inimical to the progress of this country.
Okay.
No society is built.
All right. Let me stay with you, Malam. Let me stay with you, Malam. So essentially, you agree with Arewa that look, APC government is appointing their members into INEC. Am I correct?
Well, I might not be able to say precisely, but I wouldn't be surprised if that is what is happening.
Okay.
Because we don't seem to reason with conscience. And the people don't even want to vote people who have conscience. They prefer to vote rogues and institutionalize such character. So are you surprised that these allegations are coming up? What I'm still emphasizing is that it is a reflection of the Nigerian society.
A reflection
Otherwise,
of the Nigerian
you cannot
society.
see some of these things happening.
Yes, a reflection of the Nigerian
exactly.
society. So when you say that you are not surprised, are there one or two things that this particular government has done that leads you to think that, look, Arewa might actually be right in what they are saying, even when you don't have the evidence? Like one or two things that this particular government has done that lends credence to the fact that they have the capacity to do what Arewa is saying that they are doing.
The capacity to do what? Nigeria has been battling with all sorts of challenges for the past 50 years. None has been accomplished. Education has not been on the right track. Food production has gone to the doldrum. There's no electricity, and there's no intention of making it better. We have been on 4,000 megawatts for the past 40 years. Meanwhile, other countries are on the fast lane using renewable energy. This is not rocket science, but because we have voted in the people who don't have the interest of the country at heart, we continue to see this kind of trash, and the same promises are being made and broken time and time again, and you will not expect anything different. So Nigerians must stand up and call for the right people to lead them, not this kind of people who don't have the need of the rural man or the poverty-stricken man on the street. And look at it from all angles. You find out that nothing has been achieved. As far as I'm concerned, we were better off in the 60s than we are today. I'm sorry to say that. That is my candid opinion.
All right, thank you very
everything
much.
Everything bad.
All right then, thank you very much, Malam Yusuf Danjuma. Thank you for your thoughts there. Let's take this conversation to Barrister Clem Agui. We seem to have a bit of an audio problem with the network of Malam Yusuf Danjuma. But anyway, let's come to Barrister Clem now. Now the people are brought to the fore again in this conversation. The people are accused of voting, those that are in authority. The people are blamed for what they get. Is it fair to continue to blame Nigerians if you look at what transpired in 2023, where the president got a little over 8 million votes, but then if you put together the other contestants for the position, Atiku Abubakar got about 7 million, and then Peter Obi got about 6 million, a little over 6 million votes. If you combine both votes, I mean, would you say that people truly voted for APC in that election, or where the people shortchanged at some point?
First of all, thank you for that question. But before I go into that question, let me speak my mind on what the last speaker just concluded on. If the current government is appointing card-carrying members
do us a favor to
INEC,
adjust your camera so we pick your face, because it doesn't seem to be
adjust my camera?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Is it okay this way?
Well, you may go ahead.
Is it okay this way?
Better. This is a whole lot better.
Let me, I'll answer your question, but let me just refer a little bit back to what Malam just finished saying. If INEC truly, if APC government today is appointing card-carrying members of APC into INEC, I think that is wrong. I must be condemned. But then again, if there is evidence to it, it behoves on the political parties who are going to be victims of lack of independence of INEC to commission a research on these people being appointed, get their background, get the evidence, call them out, make it public, insist, go to court if you must about this. But whereby the opposition that are going to be victims of this oversight keep quiet. Is it me, Clem, agree that I'll go to court for them when I'm not a politician? It is you who are supposed to be the victim that should commission this research. What are they doing? They're not doing that. So sometimes I don't even blame the incumbent government, because every government, everybody that is in advantage want to take undue advantage of the advantage you are having. So they have a job to do, the opposition party I'm talking about. If there's anybody I blame in this country, it is the opposition parties who are not acting like opposition. They are the one that is actually playing on the intelligence of the people of Nigeria. Because if you're opposition and you want power, you must have to be thinking straight and do the right thing. Having said that, now to the question that you asked me, which I've lost my brain. I can't remember. If you can repeat that question again, I'll not go into it, please.
All right.
Don't be offended.
No problem. I understand. There's a lot to talk about, especially when you're discussing the problems of Nigeria. Well, my question was...
Just give me a highlight of that.
Should the people... Yes. Should we continue to...
A little highlight on it.
Should we continue to blame the people for the leaders they get? Especially when you look at 2023 elections, where the president, APC, got over 8 million, and then if you combine the votes of PDP and Labour Party, it basically dwarfs what APC got in the elections, because they had 7 and 6 million respectively.
Thank you very much. I will blame the people for electing bad leaders, assuming that the people actually elected the bad leaders. But when you look at the results that you are giving me, the figures, are those figures what Nigerians actually voted? Or were those figures allocated figures? So if the people did not elect the people who are there today, and the figures were allocated and people were just put in there because of the bad system, why would I blame the people for a crime they did not commit? That's why I can't blame the people, because nothing is fair in this country. We do not have a free, fair, transparent, credible election for me to say you are getting what you deserve. You cannot blame Nigerians that they're getting what they deserve, because in the first instance, Nigerians are saying this did not reflect our intention and our votes. So you can only blame them if exactly they voted. Now, that is why electoral reform is very, very important, and also judicial reform, because the whole of the Nigerian system have been messed up in such a way that you don't even know what you are. In fact, Nigerian elections have become predictable, because I can tell you here that people have already determined that once I get the governors to come on my side, I've won the election. Why do they want the governors? They didn't want the governor because the governors have performed well and we vote for them. They want the governor to use them as a basis, as an instrument for corrupt electoral practices, to write the results. That is why they say they want the governors. But I can tell you 2027 will be a different ball game.
Oh,
because
okay.
I believe Nigerians, it will be a different ball game because you will see resistance.
Amazing.
Even the government itself will be disappointed by what will happen because Nigerians are united in poverty and hunger. Yes, I can tell you that.
It's interesting.
And if the opposition parties will do the right thing.
I wanted to come to the studio first and then come back to you to ask about the gale of defections and what you think. But it's interesting that you brought this up. So let me just put it to you. Let me just ask the question now. I'm not putting it to you. I'm asking the question. The gale of defections. You know, we've seen all of this, and there are also rumors that Doyediri of Bayelsa would also defect. There are rumors, swelling about Adeleke in Osun State might also, defect. All of these rumors, if they're anything to go by, will they be in the favor of the APC, seeing that there are also people within the APC that have been vying for positions in these states before now? What sort of arrangement or agreement do you think the president would put forward to ensure that others who are also clamoring for positions will probably sheath their swords and work in his favor? Or is this just about the president getting elected and then every other person will go to their tent at the end of the day?
Yeah, about precisely 6 months into President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's presidency, I had an interview with Captain Television, and I made a prediction in that very interview that President Tinubu will govern for less than 2 years. And that prediction came to light because you can see that even before his 2 years anniversary, he has already finished with governance and had gotten into election mood. Because once he saw everything about his thinking, he had to be re-elected. He's not governing Nigeria in any form. He has abandoned governance. And right now, what everybody is talking about is defection, 2027. The governors are thinking about defection. But let me tell you one thing. They can defect as much as they want. And I want to remind them that 22 governors of PDP endorsed President Jonathan. But the people voted against him. And he lost an election.
Some have come to dispute that there was, at no time, the 22 governors endorsed Goodluck Ebele at any point in time.
I tell you because I'm inside it. There was a point in time that the 22 governors of PDP endorsed him. But eventually the people resisted it. The same way people, if you go to some of the states where you're having need defection, so the people are already, you look at what happened to Okowa in his own community, when he went to sell the defection agenda to them. The women were cursing him. Tell him to get out of here. That's not what we sent you. You look at Delta State. What's the name of this state? Akwa Ibom State, where the governor defected. And 3 commissioners summoned the courage to say, I'm not going with you. And I can tell you that inside that cabinet again and inside that Akwa Ibom, there are people who are still sitting down there bidding for their time to also say, we're not going this line with you. And if the same thing will happen in many other states. Okay. So all these things that you're seeing will keep happening. There's no problem about that.
Thank you
but
so
like
much.
I said, if Nigerians are sincere with themselves, they will be able to make a stand to 2027.
Sincerity is actually what we need. Thank you so much, Barrister. Let's bring you to the studio now. Barrister Darlington Agomo, how does this make you feel that just 2 years or less than 2 years, into a new dispensation, we're all talking about election for 2027? When we have insecurity bedeviling the nation, we have economic hardship, we have so many other vices that the nation Nigeria is battling. And the only thing on the mouth of all politicians is 2027 election.
Fina, Mileno, as they used to say it around here. Mileno. Can you really blame the people who is spearheading this early campaign? I am telling you that if Tinubu does not want it, it will not happen. That will tell you the mindset of Tinubu. From his beginning of his life and up to today, it's all about himself. Tinubu, he cannot do anything that benefits the people. We saw what he did in Lagos here. So I personally, I will never be surprised That is character. He wants to be ahead of everybody in everything. Even if you want to break the law, let the law be broken as long as I achieve what I want. That is the president that Nigerians elected. So, why is anybody surprised? Did you not say it? My only happiness now is that the people are now aware. They have seen Tinubu finish. He can no longer deceive them in 2027. Yes, people now know that thing we have been talking from the beginning about him. And the way he behaves when it comes to power. They now know him very, very well. So whatever he's saying now, nobody is ready to listen to it. That's why he's forcing people to come to him. I mean,
talking about forcing people to come to him, Barrister.
You said what?
You said he's forcing people to come to him.
Yes, he forced them.
He said 2027 that people have known him and all that. But now we're getting another, or will I say, a grave, I'm looking for the right word now to use for that particular word, more like an allegation that he is putting his own allies in the umpire, that's the electoral umpire that Nigerians should hold on to for the election and the vote actually to count. He's putting in persons there to represent his interests. Now, do you think that the 2027 election also will still reflect the mindset of the persons? Do you think it's going to reflect them and what the people want and what they're championing?
That is where he will be disappointed because that gimmick he used against Nigerians in 2023 with INEC chairman, he thought it's going to happen again in 2027.
The president still appoints the chairman of the INEC. You know that. You and I know it's constitutional. He still has the right to appoint. So now, how then are we sure that when the appointment is being done, the representation of the person actually
It will be in the interest of the new INEC chairman to do the right thing. That is, if he doesn't want problem. I'm not joking.
How much problem have Nigerians given to the one whom they accuse of taking away their mandate in 2023?
That's what I'm saying, that things will always change. Nothing lasts forever. In Zambia and South Africa, was it not either Zambia or Zimbabwe? Their INEC chair there messed up with the election. You saw how the woman was beating black and blue. The woman, we discussed it here on this platform. We discussed it. So what I'm saying is that they should be worried because the North are threatening that if 2027 is rigged, there will be no Nigeria. And you cannot blame anybody because you that is causing the problem, what are you thinking? Why can't you be fair in whatever you are dealing with other people? You use underhand dealing to get victory. And you want people to clap for you. That is not victory.
Barrister, exactly the point. I like the fact that you talked about the North now. Now there seems to be this pushback from the North. The other time we saw Baba Ahmed, Hakim Baba Ahmed leave the government. Now we have seen another Aliyu, one of the president's spokesperson, leave the government too, because according to him, the government is trying to foist one-party state on Nigerians, and he say he disagrees with that, despite the fact that he still believes in the APC. Now, Barrister, in all of this pushback, if you consider the fact that we understand that the president is a master strategist, as some people have described him, as many people have described him, what do you think, like, 2027 will be? The other guest in the studio, in Abuja, Clem Saguyi, said that, look, 2027 is going to be a different ball game. That there's going to be a resistance. So if you put all of those things together between the master strategist and Nigerians, this pushback and all of that, can you paint a picture of what 2027 will be?
Yeah, the picture is very clear because the people are already talking. Nigerians are becoming more aware now than in 2023. That's what I'm trying to let you know. With what Tinubu have done to them now, it's even good. It opened their eyes and their head. People now saw clearly where this man is leading them, and they wouldn't want him to go further.
Barrister, why the people are talking? The APC is acting. The president is acting. Like what Arewa just said, that they are appointing card-carrying members of APC into INEC. So, what are Nigerians going to do?
Mr. Ogoro, when you are preparing for war against an opponent, do you know what the opponent is preparing? A typical example is what happened in the Bible. When Goliath, he has been a warrior all his life. He has been fighting. According to the Bible, they say this man is a tested warrior. So when David came before him, he said, what is all this? This small rat before me? Am I, he didn't take David serious now. He never knew what David had up his sleeve. More so when the small boy brought out a catapult. So I am telling you, they won't like it in 2027.
But Barrister, when you say that Nigerians are a lot wiser now, but if you go to some social media handles, you see a lot of people, you know, from across the divide, you know, defending this government, despite the fact that there are so many people also who believe that this government has not done well. But you see people defend them with this kind of gusto that you can't even explain. So does that also tell you that the game in 2027 will be different?
How many of them?
Many of them.
No,
many.
No, leave all those things. Those are paid hands, you know. These are what do I call it now? The boys who are doing the bidding of their masters just to collect stipends. But I know that in the election proper, none of them would want to go through what they went through in the last 4 years. They wouldn't want it. Okay. It is a general opinion by Nigerians.
But Barrister, if the president could operate like a lot of people believe that he was able to influence and manipulate the 2023 elections, if you could do it from outside, so what gives you the impression that sitting in office with the executive powers, that Nigerians can push him out of office?
Mr. Okoro, tell me the truth. Is there any dictatorship? Is there any evil? Is there any infamy that lasts forever?
Barrister, have you seen a dictatorship that lasted for only 4 years?
Some don't even last for 1 year, sir.
Really?
Yes, now. We have seen bad leaders being chased out of office by their people. Is it because we have not done it here? It starts from one day. Evil started in 1 day. Evil will end in 1 day. Is that not true? So there's a level of suffering that will make the people to say enough is enough.
All right then.
It will happen because it happens somewhere else.
All right, thank you very much, Barrister Darlington. Let me take this back to Malam Yusuf Danjuma before we wrap up. Malam Yusuf, I hope you're still with us.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Just wanted to ensure that you're still with us. Now, what is the position of the North, of the Northern elite now, when it comes to 2027? Do you think the Northern elite will want to support a Southern president in 2027, going by what we've been hearing, especially from the likes of Arewa? Because there was a video I saw yesterday on social media where he made some statements about a Muslim ticket and how the North will want to take power back. What do you think is playing out amongst Northern elite as we look forward to 2027?
Thank you very much. I want to say that the issue of Nigeria right now goes up and above religion and such topics. The economy is biting very hard. I want to stand from this point of view that for any political setting, there are 2 pages. The first page is when the leaders, the politicians, the traditional rulers, and the money mongers, the money bags, call the people, and the people will answer them. Which means there is a relationship, there's an inclination, there is a dwelling, a kind of understanding, and they call the shots. And there's the second page and the final page where when the rulers and the powers that be and the politicians and the traditional rulers call on the people will not listen and they will not answer the call. Now, social issues dictate the divide between these 2 pages. And these social issues are very clearly defined today. Just yesterday, a lot of people came into my house and complained that they were not celebrating. They have not even been able to cook for the past 3 days. The situation in Nigeria has come to the point of food in the place. School is above the reach of the common man. Businesses have collapsed. Industries are nowhere. The only thriving industry is politics, and they cannot carry the center. The center can no longer hold. But the time they call on to the people will not listen. And this is going to reflect in the election. I don't think any individual will come with religious dictates and other sectional interests. Yes.
You are a lecturer, so I appreciate everything you're doing. I appreciate your submission, but I would like a more I'd like you to simplify your response so I can understand, and so some other Nigerians can, really understand your position. The question is, what do you perceive to be the position of Northern elite as we look forward to 2027? Are the Northern elites talking about grabbing power? Will they support the South in 2027? The people, we understand the position of the people, but will the Northern elite move the people to grab power from the South, seeing that the South has not even completed its 8 years, and take it back to the North? What do you perceive? What should Nigerians expect?
Well, I'm not trying to be sectional. I'm a product of a federal government college. So my views about Nigeria is holistic. It's Nigeria preserving the Commonwealth and preserving the unity and direction of Nigeria. I don't see Nigerians from the prism of religion or section or stuff like that. What I'm saying is that this disposition will not be tolerated by Nigerians in the next fall, in the next election. I'm trying to think out how they can call on people on the same bandwagon in the next election. People will certainly not listen because nothing has changed. People have been suffering. The situation is unbearable and they don't have anything to tell us. Whether north to south, east to west, the voice is going to be unison. These people cannot be able to hold us together. I mean, the center will not be able to hold. I foresee a situation, if things don't change, that the proletariat, the common man, will come to do what he is supposed to do and expect and get what he is supposed to get.
Thank you so much.
This is my view about the situation. It's more than sectional.
Thank you so much for your contribution. Time will let us would have actually go around to take patients, parting short, but all the same, Malam Danjuma will also encourage you to stay with us. So going over for the third topic of conversation, I will need your contribution to that regard. And the topic of conversation we'll be diving into now is Mariam Abacha denying that her husband looted Nigeria's fund and also asked questions about the money being left for Nigeria by the husband. Do well to stay with us, gentlemen.
Well, Mariam Abacha, wife of the late military head of state, General Sani Abacha, has firmly rejected claims that her husband looted billions of dollars from Nigeria's treasury. In a recent interview, she challenged accusers to provide verifiable evidence, asking of who witnessed the alleged transaction or signed off on them. She argued that the funds her husband reportedly recovered for Nigeria disappeared after his death, and questioned the motive behind what she described as decades of targeted blame against her family. Now, Mrs. Abacha also criticized the media for what she called a campaign of distortion, urging journalists to educate rather than defame. She defended her husband's legacy, pointing to a stable economy during his rule, highlighting stronger foreign reserves and lower national debt. She expressed frustration that nearly 3 decades after his death, her husband is still being discussed in negative light, calling for an end to tribal and religious bias. She urged Nigerians to embrace unity, truth, and mutual respect. We still have with us Barrister Darlington Agomwo, Malam Yusuf Ibrahim Danjuma, and of course, Barrister, I do understand that Barrister Clem is not part of this conversation. But anyway, let me start off with Barrister Darlington. Barrister, this just points to, a question I've asked myself over time, and I've asked a lot of other people, that how is it that the gift that keeps giving, you know, the Abacha, the late Abacha, has continually been touted to be giving back monies stolen from Nigeria. Do you think, what do you, anyway, before we come to your response, let's take this video and then we'll get back to your response to the question.
And the monies that my husband kept for Nigeria, in a few months, the monies vanished. People are not talking about that. Why are you blaming somebody for, is that tribalism or religious program, or what is the problem with Nigerians? I pray for Nigerians. I pray for all of us. I pray that we should have goodness in our hearts. We should stop telling lies and blaming people. Why are we so bad towards each other? Because somebody is a northerner or a southerner, somebody is a Muslim or a Christian, or somebody is nice, or it's not fair. I think the press should try. The press,
There you have it. There you have it. Her own words from her own lips. Barrister Darlington, are we missing something here? Have leaders, continually blamed one man because he's not around to defend himself?
If I were Mrs. Mariam Abacha, I wouldn't expect her to be talking, because under the husband's watch, many people died in Nigeria. In fact, if there was any brutal leader in Nigeria, Abacha is taking the king prize. Everybody is aware, everybody knows. So why is she not talking about that? Or was she not aware of the people that died under Abacha's watch? He's talking about tribalism and all that. Was it not under Abacha that his own brother Yaradua died? Did you not see how Yaradua died? Of the injection inside the prisons? That somebody went to go and warn Obasanjo not to accept any injection if he doesn't want to go the way of Yaradua. So why is she forgetting all that, please? Why? Okay, the loot that is still coming, even some countries are on their own, they are bringing the money back to us. Was she not aware?
Can we truly verify that those are Abacha loot?
The country that brought it told us. Which one is the... Okay, go and ask Bagudu, Minister of Budget.
Yeah, he's a minister now. So
yes, he's a minister. Yeah, he was. Because as
you think the EFCC would have cleared him to be a minister?
As at that time, Abacha was not traveled. I mean, did not travel anywhere. He was declared persona non grata all over the world. Didn't Miriam Abacha saw that? If the husband was as good as he's trying to paint him now.
No, she's not saying he's good. I think what she's saying is we should not continue to blame the man. We should also, and she made a valid point that the monies, which of course she said the husband saved kept for Nigeria. For who? I don't know. You might react to that. But the monies kept were taken few months after he died. Were taken, relooted, as it were.
No, let us take this one by one.
Okay.
Mrs. Miriam, we will not stop talking about your husband until all the money is returned. Did you hear me? We will not stop talking about Abacha until all the money are returned.
Barrister,
you are talking of...
what is the evidence that... if you have evidence to the fact that all the monies that
I am coming now. I am coming.
Linked to Abacha are truly or were truly looted by Abacha.
I am coming now. Remember when there was a bargain with Bagudu and some Western power, whereby he agreed to return some of the money that he helped Abacha to launder in order to free him from persecution and all that. Remember, something like that happened. Even Mohammed, his son, remember that Obasanjo said, if I begin to pursue this thing now, it will take a while. So I do plea bargain, return some of the money. I will allow you to take $100 million. Bring the rest. Wasn't Miriam Abacha aware of this? So, my brother, there are facts, tons of facts. Remember, this time Miriam, remember when the husband died, he came with the children to Aso Rock. He came with a very big bag to come and collect the money in the safe. Then the security that Abdul Salami left there said, Oga, come, there's something happening here. Look at what's going on. Abdul Salami told them, no, close it back, close that place back, and nobody should touch anything. Okay. At that time, they went back. So if Miriam Abacha wants to be truthful to herself, how much did they take away when this thing happened? And how much was retained? See, these are money.
Before we go to the guests in Abuja, let me just stay with you. Two questions. Is it possible, that, first of all, before we get there, you said that he was the most brutal of all Nigerian leaders. Exactly. A lot of people will disagree with you.
In what way?
Yes, because we had a Babangida who took coups. And you know the number of people that were killed in those coups. Now, let's move away from that. Is it possible, Barrister, that a human being, because for the past 30 years, we've been recovering money allegedly stolen by this man. Is there a possibility that only one man stole so much? Now, the other question is should we be more interested in who stole the money, or should we be interested in how these monies are restolen by this government? Because in all of this, we are told that a certain billions of naira, millions of dollars were recovered and to be channeled into infrastructure. Do we see this infrastructure? That is the question. So what should be our concern? Now, all these monies that are recovered and they are relooted, what is the Nigerian government and the Nigerian people doing about it?
We are talking of Abacha.
Yes, the same Abacha that I'm talking about.
Yes, the same Abacha. So let us interrogate his life and tenure in office and what he did. And then to now know whether the defense by the wife is justified. It's not justified because the Babangida you mentioned, that was a coup. And you are now know the punishment for a failed coup.
Some of them were also alleged to be phantom
The fact remains that it was a coup.
Like the Vatsa coup.
It was a coup. We are talking of human beings who protested under Abacha and how they died.
Barrister, let's dwell on the loot. I'd like for us to dwell on the loot.
Good. The loot now. Abacha did not even say that he did not steal money. He only told us he was saving it. We don't know where he was saving it as at that time when this matter came up. So what we are now saying that if that money does not belong to Abacha, they won't be returning it now because...
Barrister, do you agree with your wife that the economy was stable within the 5 years that he was in office? Do you agree with her?
Of course.
All right, then.
It's
Okay.
a fact.
Let's go to Malam Yusuf now. Malam Yusuf Danjuma. Let's have your broad reaction, but I would like to reel out a few figures here. $700 million in 2006 from Switzerland was repatriated to Nigeria. That was an Abacha loot. Another Abacha loot from the United States in 2014, and the U.S. Department of Justice returned around $500 million traced to Abacha era misappropriation. Also, from United Kingdom, the UK returned nearly €4 million in 2001 and pledged further tens of millions subsequently. Now, these were among the largest single recoveries of stolen Nigerian assets, all linked to Abacha. Barrister, my question is simple. These monies have been brought back to Nigeria. £4 million, I beg your pardon, £4 million in 2001, $500 million US dollars, $700 million US dollars in 2006. The $5 million is from 2014. All of these monies brought back to Nigeria. What do you think has been done to these monies? Shouldn't we hold governments after Abacha up until now responsible for not accounting for these monies?
Look, Moses, you see, it is not left for you and I to hold those in authority accountable. That is subsequent government after Abacha, especially Abdul Salami, because the money they returned as at that time, Abdul Salami did not give account. He didn't. That's when they started talking about relooting the loot. I think some of the people that were giving pardon and all that is because of the money they returned as at that time.
So in other words, Barrister Darlington, the call of Miriam to ask them to give us account of the money that the husband left actually is genuine at this point in time?
No, it is not for her to do that. It is left for Nigerians. At the fullest of time, all these things will be accounted for. Abacha money is being talked about 27 years after. The same way, when these people are no longer here, because it will definitely happen, then posterity will now ask, when this man was in office, so look at all he did, though. All the people that did it with them, they will come out and be confessed. Is that not true? Our money will be returned. After all, Bagudu was the Abacha's henchman at that time. He was the one laundering this money because Abacha did not travel out of this country. It's on record. So the people that are helping them now to launder money, they are all alive. And at the fullest of time, they will account. That's what we are saying. So that we cannot clean up the record. Nothing lasts forever, I keep telling you. So let us leave those who are in office now. Whatever they did will be brought to the open when the time comes. Whether they like it or not. They will die one day and then people will now begin to talk about. Look at what happened at CBN. It's on record. At least an investigation. Is that not true? The findings of that investigation is somewhere. One day somebody will lift it up and begin to ask questions. By that time, we now know what went where. We will now trace the money to where they covered it with a coded account. Because that was how these monies were saved abroad, with coded account. And so we are going to find out. This thing must come to the open. Money doesn't die. It can never die. The owner may die, but the money will not die. And the records are there. So we will trace all of them with the fullest of time. Because if you start doing it now, the man will use his position and make trouble. A lot of trouble. Half of the money might even go into litigation. You will not have anything. But when they are no longer there, the government can say, look, we discovered that so money is with you people over there. Please, can you help us bring it back? Because we understand that the owner is no longer alive. And we suspect that this money was stolen from Nigeria. It will come to the pass. That's the truth. Ibori never believed that he will go through what he went to UK. He didn't believe. So what the woman is trying to say, it doesn't add up. Let her go and rest. Let her go and rest. Except she's ready to bring back those who died under the husband.
So for how long are we going to blame a particular individual for all the challenges?
As long as the infamy he committed in office is still smelling.
Can we say that we're seeing persons or leaders who have been elected in Nigeria in office now not doing the same thing, if I'm to use that word?
I've just told you now. Human beings who don't learn.
So why should we start?
They don't learn from history. That's what I'm telling you. When they are no longer there, like Abacha now, he hasn't come out to protest about loot or no loot. It will happen with other people too, since they have refused to learn. Right. All these stolen wealth, both the one in Nigeria and the one outside, we will recover them when they are no longer here.
Thank you, Barrister Darlington. I will take that also to be your concluding thoughts. Thank you for being part of today's show. We've been speaking with Barrister Darlington Agomo, VOP TV in-house analyst, and we also had the privilege of talking to Malam Yusuf Ibrahim Danjuma, who is a senior lecturer from Gombe State University.
Did you speak on this matter?
Yeah, we had also Barrister Clems Agui also join the conversation. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being part of today's show. Would have loved to get your concluding thought, but I guess our network didn't permit us to do that. On behalf of the backroom staff and my colleagues, Chukuma Okoro and Moses Humphrey, I am Fina Okechukwu. Thank you for being part of today's show, and just do well to stick to the dial. VOP TV, course. Up next on our schedule is the newspaper review proper with Chukuma and Moses. Thank you.